Avengers 4 just lost his director. So we know
Yeah.
that Destin Daniel Cretton, who, if I remember correctly, he directed the Shang-Chi movie. And so he was signed on to direct the new Avengers Kang Dynasty movie. And now we know that he's no longer on the project. He's left the project. He is going to be he's still involved with Marvel. So he's going to continue to work on other projects. And I think one of those is like the sequel to Shang-Chi, which I, for one, cannot wait to see. I want to
Yes.
see that new Shang-Chi movie before the next two Avengers movies. And he's got a couple of other things, I think, like TV series that he's working on. So, Destiny Daniel Cretton, great director, going to continue to stay involved with Marvel, working on upcoming projects. But there was another story even earlier in the week where the writer of this new big Marvel book that came out, that was like the official timeline of the MCU, she gave a quote in one of the interviews on a promotional tour for this book. And she, of course, has a lot of good sources right now because she's been talking to Kevin Feige and co. to write that book. She mentioned that Jeff Loveness, who was originally writing Avengers Kang Dynasty, who wrote Ant-Man Quantumania, so he's been heavily involved with the Kang storyline. Um, he like is no longer involved, apparently, according to the writer of this book, that Jeff
Let's
Loveness has
go.
left. He has left the the Kang Dynasty project, and it's because not because I mean she said not necessarily because he's a terrible writer or anything like that. I think she implied that it was because Marvel is looking to move away from that whole Kang story. So when
Yeah.
you look at that story of okay, the writer is no longer working on the movie, and then you look at Destin Daniel Cretton has left the movie as the director. Are we, and then of course Jonathan Majors, we know he's got a trial date, so we don't
Yeah.
know what's going to come of that. So the question becomes, if you add one and one, is Avengers 4 gonna be Kang Dynasty anymore? That's my question. Like Roland, what do you think? Are we moving away from Kang entirely, especially if you look at how season 2 of Loki ended?
Yeah. I mean, they handled him terribly. Like it's hard to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna really like sneak show him, and it's like, no, you have him in like two major things, and like it's not that big of a deal. It seems like it's hard to be kind of, I don't know. I think the whole thing with Kang was like the ball was dropped, and they've definitely put themselves in a corner, especially since they were putting all their eggs in a basket with Jonathan Majors, which at the time was an amazing idea. But it would have been interesting to do kind of a Loki dynamic where you see like various different kinds of like variants where you could like keep that going for an extended amount of time and not have to worry too much about contracts and basically the mess that they're in right now. Um, I'm sure that they'll find some way to salvage this idea. I mean, they've been really trying to push the King thing. Um, so whether that being recasting or just sticking with Jonathan Majors and trying to find the next best director slash writer, I don't know. Who's to say? Angelina, what do you think? What do you think they'll do?
That's so hard, but I just don't see how they can move forward with Jonathan Majors because of all of the accusations. I think, honestly, continuing on with the storyline as they had planned it will face massive repercussions, even if he's
Yeah,
not, even if he wins in court. Like, it's still going to have massive repercussions as so many victims of domestic violence or they're going to boycott, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot
yeah,
of evidence, there's a lot of like stuff that is obviously piled against him, and there's a reason the DA decided not to drop the case. So I just don't see how they can move forward because there's just no way. So it does make sense that the director has exited on this, and I feel like it has to be just because they're going to pivot and they're going to have to
yeah,
script and they're going to have to change it up, and it does suck because you're right, they really sort of pigeonholed themselves with Loki season 2, and it would have been this great lead up, except I'm sorry, you have this actor, and I think that's the only thing that really sort of like makes me like, I feel like somebody had to have known before this massive court case was filed that there were all of these allegations out there, because they worked on a job together in which she's saying that like all this stuff happened. Like there had to have been formal complaints already made, stuff like that. So I just have questions as to like why they put all their eggs in a basket of someone who seems to have a really questionable character that could lead to massive allegations in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like, besides even the actor and the casting itself, just with how they've been dealing with the character and trying to deal with like teasing and a major villain after Thanos, it's just, I don't know. There was always going to be some sort of problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just the casting and all the accusations going on right now just seems to be the obvious one right now. Yeah. That's just kind of the surface level, I think. I don't know. Dan, what do you think?
I definitely think the director leaving just points to them having to completely like reorganize what this new Avengers movie is going to be about.
They're definitely gonna have to start fresh.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of this isn't even got much to do, well, the director leaving the movie and the writer being moved on to maybe other projects. I think this is to do with the fact, like what Roland just said, like they have quite frankly just straight up botched the whole Kang character. Like if you like get an introduction and then your first order of business is, and I'm sorry, no offense to Ant-Man, but like if you lose to Ant-Man and that's like the introduction, like can we just like, let me make a comparison here, right? Like you losing to Ant-Man in your first appearance would be like if they introduced Thanos in the first Thor movie and then he got punched out by Hawkeye. Like if that happened, then all of a sudden there is no like semblance of legitimacy to the threat that Thanos poses from that point
because he's still a human being. He doesn't have any superpowers. He has a cool suit, but like that's it's hard to be scared of a villain when basically one of the first interactions you have is like, oh no, this guy's butt whooped, dude. Like, yeah, we can get a group of superheroes with actual powers. Yeah, we'll be fine. Don't worry.
Not to mention, before that, season 1 of Loki, like he gets killed by one of the Loki variants, and so like we've already killed 2 versions of Kang by the time we get to like Loki season 2, and we know how. You know, if you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert, but if you did watch Loki season 2, now like the TVA is tasked with hunting down all the Kang variants, and they've already got a couple by the end of the show. So they've basically already almost written the character out. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, there's a football stadium's worth of Kangs out there, so I don't know how easy it is to get all of them. So I'm sure there will be plenty left over, but I just think as far as having a character that you build this sense of dread around, that they did with Thanos for like 6 movies before we got like even the I'll do it myself moment. Until then, all he was is like a glance here, a little bit of a cameo here and there. I mean, he had a few lines of dialogue in Guardians of the Galaxy, but even then, like he was very much like off to the side. I think they've just overexposed this Kang already way too much and leaned. I think for some reason in my mind, the whole fact that there's an infinite variance of Kang like just epitomizes the quantity over quality problem Marvel has had since Phase 4 started, and it's just ironic how those two things are like connected. So I mean, I personally think this is all basically signaling to us that Kang story probably not gonna happen. They're gonna probably, and there was another story actually that came out just as the week ended where, and again, this is reportedly from like one of the insiders, so it's not official by any means, that Kevin Feige is now looking to bring in one director to direct Avengers 4 and 5 as like a part 1 and 2, sort of like Infinity War and Endgame War, where the story continues directly from one movie to the next, and they're gonna make it a 2-parter with the same director, kind of like the Russo brothers were for Infinity War and Endgame, which is another reason which leads me to believe maybe we're just going to go straight to Secret Wars and then have like a part 1 and 2.
I was gonna ask, yeah, are they still gonna do Secret Wars? Because then, I mean, that's a total secluded thing. That's like an Elseworld type project that they can just have fun with.
Yeah.
I don't
Chris
know, at
Evans
this,
as Human Torch, probably going to be in there.
you and this Chris Evans with the Human Torch thing.
I'm just, well, it's usually Angelina who's making that argument. I'm just,
Yeah,
this is the first time I've actually
I just
brought it
caught
up.
you in this moment. That's all. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like she's already celebrating. Yeah.
yeah.
Although,
I
like,
mean, the Human Torch has to be hot. It's like a requirement.
I mean, his power is literally hot. Yeah,
Exactly.
I was
yeah,
gonna
Has to be hot. Like that's where all of the girlies come in, and we're like,
yeah.
yeah.
He's.
There has to be swoon worthy.
I will say I will be upset if the Human Torch isn't hot. That's I'm gonna put that another thing on my rules. He's gotta be a little sexy.
Like Chris Evans as the Human Torch was like
Yeah.
chef's kiss beautiful.
Yeah.
Obviously he's like heartthrob as Captain America, but like
Yeah.
he was like the hot douchebag as the Human Torch, which
Well, that's who he is. You know, he's a bit of a player, and that's a character arc for him that you can work with because he's a hothead. You know, that's another thing. That's another aspect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Nope, his audio's
I
gone.
just muted myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, Dan, you're gone.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, like putting all the pieces together, I for one am excited to see them pivoting away from Kang because honestly, I didn't think that was going anywhere. And so far, the MCU is feeling rudderless, and I think the latest box office numbers for the Marvels are nothing if not indicative of the fact that the MCU probably needs to pivot a little bit and change direction. So I'm glad that they're finally making the move here, and whether it's Avengers 4 turning into Secret Wars Part 1, or we are getting a Shang-Chi sequel sooner, so that now Destin Daniel Cretton is freed up to do that. And of course, Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic is you know, you can't lose with that. I think he's already America's daddy. He's only going to continue to, you know, really grow into that role a little bit more. And of course the MCU, we're already blessed with America's ass. Now we're gonna have America's daddy. Like, you know, it's just the MCU is America's movie franchise. So we'll see where things go. I'm sure if there's more news about this, we'll be talking about it. But guys, let us know in the comments. What do you think about Pedro Pascal potentially joining the MCU as Mr. Fantastic? Would you want to see Chris Evans back as the Human Torch? Or what are your fan castings for like the Fantastic Four that we haven't, you know, officially heard about yet? And then what are you thinking about Avengers 4 and 5?
We want to hear all the fan casts. I want you guys to just give us a full layout. Let us know what you think, because we all have our sort of envisionment of what the Fantastic Four should be, but we want to know what you guys think. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment those.
The craziest fan cast will be shown on Rolling Underground.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that right here. Yeah.
Yes. Roland will make that happen for you.
I will make that happen. I love crazy fan cast.